What I did really want to talk about, right, we have this grandiose title here, right, the future of digital video. Not quite as grandiose as comparing our industry to a black hole, but still pretty grandiose, all due respect. But what we want to talk about today is some very interesting information that we gathered in the context of a digital video agency day that was held over the summer. We brought together, much like the Ad Operations Council has done for a number of years, agency representatives and publisher-side representatives in ad operations and technology and whatnot, and really tried to compare apples to apples, compare their apples to our oranges, if you want to call it that, and look at how we were all facing kind of the same challenges. You know, Donna was present there, and that's a major reason that we invited her here today, because she had some very insightful things to say about it. And you know, the themes that she talked about this morning are really the themes that we see across digital video into the future that the IAB Video Committee is trying to build upon. So let me take you through some of this data. Right. So we fielded a survey. It was fairly short, but had some very interesting questions. We had a broad set of respondents across the Digital Video Committee and the Ad Operations Council. So really trying to touch all the people that interact with these things on a day-to-day basis. I had something like 59 qualified responses, right, back in July. Right. So the big headline is that over 80% of respondents are using VAST. Okay. Now across all respondents, right, as I noted, it's 80. Right. Publishers, a good broad number, networks an even bigger number, and vendors, technology vendors, an even larger number, right? So you see this progression from publishers adopting on through. Now, we also looked at who are the kinds of companies that are doing this across each of those categories, right? So it definitely skewed towards the largest companies, right? The larger scale you're at, the more you're likely to be using these kinds of standards, right? Because you have these tremendous challenges of interoperability. You have scale, to Donna's point earlier today. We need scale and we need transparency. And so the scale issue is really what VAST was designed to fix, right? Just by show of hands, who in this room knows what the acronym VAST stands for? Okay, then I better say what it is. VAST is the Video Ad Serving Template, okay? And VPAID, I'm not even going to ask who knows what that is the Video Player Ad Interface Definition. What those two things mean, first on the VAST front, right? It is a template. It is a format for creative that you want to serve into a video player to come through an ad server and be ingested and then played. Otherwise, we kind of have a Tower of Babel situation where everyone's ad server speaks a different language, but they're all trying to play in, say, my player on CNN.com or on someone's player at YouTube, right? And so if you don't have a standard, you have tremendous challenges where every company has to figure out interfaces with every other company. But VAST cleans that slate and makes that easier to deploy consistently. So the skew, again, is definitely towards the large companies where VAST is quite prominent among the biggest ones, but among smaller players, we have less adoption. Right. So some of the benefits cited of adopting VAST were really around, and this makes sense, decreased cost of partner integration. So probably heavily led by companies that work with a lot of other companies, right? So whether you're a technology vendor or you're a large publisher trying to do a lot of deals and a lot of interoperability, that was the biggest benefit cited, right? Unfortunately, some 15% also said that there were no benefits found. But these are some of the kinds of things that people said were benefits of adopting VAST, right? So a decrease in change requests, right? Additional comfort for clients that we are staying leading edge. We are adopting things that should propel our industry forward and ease friction in the buying process, right? And some, frankly, saying it's a prerequisite to do business. And we'll talk about that a little bit with the panel, right? Now, on to challenges. Right. AdOps struggles to understand, how does this interact with me? How do I address a creative when it comes in as VAST? How many pixels can I get in there? Does it support multiple tracking pixels? Tracking pixels are a growing problem for the industry, and really the video ad standard template, VAST, being set up really started a couple of years ago now. They were not as commonplace as they are today, so there's been some struggles for it to adapt to all that activity. And then finally, there are errors, right? Whether it's on the agency side or the publisher side, you think you're getting VAST, but it breaks when it lands at your player. And so fixing those kinds of problems are clearly things that we want to pay attention to. right? And finally, why haven't you adopted it, right? So 2 key things, right? Ranking very high here, 25%. Waiting to see what others do, right? Waiting to see what the market does. If I don't have a pressing need, I'm going to see if it gains traction. And fundamentally, not necessary to do business, kind of the same issue. But with the full 80% of respondents saying that they are doing this, now these are self-selected people kind of coming in and responding to the survey, so that's not terribly surprising. But we think this is good directional data to understand that people are wanting to see where this goes next, right? Hardly anyone is set up for it. Finally, the takeaways, I think, from this whole digital video day that we had a couple of months ago were really around that there were some very positive success stories in the adoption of a standard, right? And to Steve's point earlier today, that it's a flexible standard, right? We have iterated it a number of times, and that's going to be something we do going forward, right? The standards need more capabilities, right? New things, HTML5 was unheard of, right? As a big requirement to move dollars even 6 or 7 months ago. Daisy chaining as well, being a challenge to VAST. If an ad request keeps going up a daisy chain and lands at a creative that's not VAST, but it was expecting to be VAST all along, you have a break in your chain. Awareness, right? Publisher awareness, agency awareness too is incomplete, right? Especially among smaller publisher companies. And finally, compliance, right? We have, like we have for all IAB standards, compliance seals that people can self-testify to say, yes, I use the IAB creative sizes, et cetera. We also have that for VAST. But this being a very technical spec, we feel like we can do better than just self-reporting. So what all of that data means is we've taken it to inform the working groups that we're going to create out of the Digital Video Committee through the end of the year and into next year, right? So one big initiative that hasn't been talked about a great deal here today that the IAB and other industry groups are leading is this Making Measurement Make Sense initiative, right? Very much to the heart of what Donna was speaking about, where we need comparables. We need to be able to compare digital to print, to out-of-home, to television, traditional broadcast television, right? And so that committee needs the input of the Digital Video Committee. These are the digital video natives, the experts, and so we definitely are going to form a group focused on helping that initiative have the right inputs from the digital video community. The next step, next group is around VAST and VPAID, right? Actually doing the nitty-gritty technical work, rolling up our sleeves, and iterating the XML formats to reflect the new complexities of the market. The next piece is all around education and compliance, right? So we're going to take some technical steps to let companies that say they're VAST compliant test themselves against a system. At least that's the idea at this point. And then also to get out into the community, to go to agencies, to educate them, to go to publishers, to do roadshows, to talk through what are the advantages, how do you do this, what are the best practices. And finally, a notion around narratives, right? Developing narratives and communications to seed the marketplace. We found in that Digital Video Agency Day meeting that we had so much common ground, but we needed to develop that. We needed to enrich that and explain out to the community what our goals were and build new initiatives from those. So here's my call to action. Folks, please reach out to me or Ramona Gonzalez, who's in the audience here today, who helps us with the Digital Video Committee, and let us know if you want to participate in any of these. We're looking for volunteers.